Hi guys, my name is Bungi CBC for those of you who do not know me. For those of you who do know me, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And please don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and also comment down below. Yeah, actually helps guys. Please do subscribe, it will help a ton. So, I decided this week I'm going to do something that I call my dark comedy. Okay, so my dark comedy is like stories that are are okay, I might say like they're not supposed to be funny, but then because people just have to be people sometimes, that's what end up happening. Okay, that's what ended up happening. So my story that I'm going to be telling you guys about today on one of my dark comedy is how my grandfather tried to cash in on one of my aunt's funerals. Guys, you know when you have that uncle at home, like, or just, you know, that one person who is always just like going left. Okay, so we have one of those uncles, and it's a grand uncle. Yeah, it's a grand uncle because I say grandpa to him. So it was a very emotional day. Actually, it started off as a very emotional day. One, because my aunt didn't just die and we came. I was there for it, guys. And what had happened is that last night, the night before, she was okay. She was fine. She was laughing. She was even making jokes, guys. You know, when a person, when they feel a lot better, you could even see that no, this person is literally gonna be better. They're gonna like feel better. They're gonna, they're gonna be healed. And yeah, in Jesus' name, everything is gonna be okay now. I mean, you could see the person healing slowly because she was telling jokes that night, and she was just okay. And everybody was like laughing because that's how we actually know her. She was such a comedian, guys. I was like, oh my gosh. She was so funny. She was like really funny. And then we went to bed. And with me, the thing was, funny enough, that night my cousins, was it my cousins? I think the night before that, my cousins one day, like her like kids, her children, and they came and we chilled, and we'd go back and forth because my grandmother has like the big house, and the rendezvous where she sleeps, like Gomahayeng. It's very traditional. Even if you have the big house, the rendezvous is there at the back, and that's where my grandmother used to like sleeping. And she took my aunt to sleep in that same room because they believe in ancestors. And when they believe in ancestors, they believe, I think she believed that if she took her to that room where she believed her ancestors, I don't know, they are there, and they will heal her or they will plead on her behalf. And I was just hoping like maybe try prayer. Okay, I know that maybe it wouldn't have healed, but like at that time maybe it would have lessened the pain, because with God, if your time is up, your time is up. Okay, that's what I believe, that if your time is up, your time is up. He takes you back home. Okay, so I was just hoping they would try prayer, but I don't know if they did try, because I came like on the last week when she was about to pass away. So that evening, everything was fine. She was making jokes. My her little sister, her younger sister who's married, was also there, and it was funny. Everybody was just laughing, and she was also laughing. And they were putting like those old tapes on video, and she would be watching, and she'd be remembering old stories about their school days as my aunt, because it was my younger aunt, and she was the eldest aunt, by the way. So that evening we all go to sleep, and I think round about 3, round about 3 or so, my grandmother just goes like, no, what's happening? And my aunt is doing this thing of like, I don't know if it's like she's choking on something, and then after that she just wakes up. She's like, no, what is happening? And I'm like, and now I'm not I don't sleep early, okay? I don't sleep early. So when when she noticed that, I was still like awake. I wasn't like really asleep, and we were all sleeping at the roundabout, because I was like, I'm not about to go sleep in the big house alone. Like, why is there nobody sleeping in the big house? Because like it's scary, like when I'm alone, and there's like 3 bedrooms in that house, and then there's a huge kitchen and a living room. So I was like, no, I am not about to sleep in the big house alone. So I came back and I started editing in the room there, and my grandmother's like, no, what's going on? And she literally wakes up for it. She's like, no, no, no. She calls my aunt's name, and she's like, don't do this to me, not now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening? I heard from people who have had kids in the past who say like you can actually feel it when your kid is about to die. And I guess that's the same instant my grandmother had at that time, because she started calling my aunt's name, and she's like, no, don't do this, no, you can't leave, not now. And after that she's like, no, no, no. And she just did this thing of like choking, and nobody was holding her. She like, I could see her hand, like when a person is trying to like fight, but they're not really like able to fight. And then after that I just saw her hand drop and rest, and that's when I knew, like, no. And when her hand was doing this thing like clenching, and she's trying to fight or something, I quickly ran like to her, and I'm like, I'm picking up her head like, are you okay, are you okay? And you could see that she's trying to fight, and my grandma's like, please don't do this, not now, you can't leave now. And when that hand rested, like, it was as though my aunt was like, I'm letting go. And she died in my arms. And my grandmother lost her mind. She lost her mind. The scream I heard from there, like, my grandmother cried. She wept, guys. She wept, okay? She cried. And I ran over to the neighbors. I ran over, I called the neighbor, and the neighbor's like, what happened? I'm like, she's gone. And the neighbor's like, what do you mean she's gone? I'm like, she died. She's gone. And she died in my arms. I did not know what to do, because my grandma was literally rolling on the floor, guys, like hysterical. Okay. So after that, like, okay, the neighbor comes and she's like, Bonnie, calm down. Calm down. And for a person who had a person just die in their arms, I was pretty calm, because I was like, I think I was on, with me, if something happens and and everybody's just letting go, I go on work mode. I instantly like switch to soldier mode, and I was like, okay, I'm calm. I need to call the other people from home, because it was only me, my grandmother, and my aunt that had just died there. So I was making the calls. I called my mom's sister, I called my aunt's younger sister, and I had to go fetch my aunt's younger sister, because she was staying a walkable distance. Yeah, where she stayed, it was a walking distance. So I had to go fetch her. At that time it was around about like 4 o'clock now in the morning. and I ran to fetch her. And the worst part with her, she's crying all the way. I'm like, don't cry, please don't make a lot of noise, we could get mugged here, okay? And she was just crying and crying. So we get to the house. With me, things that people go through and I've already went through, and I know what it feels like. I don't tell people how to feel, guys. I just let you feel it, and I say, I'm sorry the whole time. So that's what I was doing with my aunt. I just said, I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry aunt died. And when we got home, guys, my grandmother, I don't know, maybe it was the shock that was making her be like that. She lost her mind for like that 3 hours in between there, from 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 hours in fact. She had lost her mind at that time because the body was still like, my aunt's body was still in the roundabout there, like in the corner where she was sleeping. And they had like my neighbor and my younger aunt came and just like took a blanket and like put it over my aunt's body. And we were sitting there, so I come back and the neighbor is sitting there, and I am like, I walk in with my aunt, and my aunt, she cries, you know, but she's handling it much better. But now the thing is, something is off with my grams. I'm like, I remember there was a friend that I had as well who, after her child died, she was like, it's excruciating pain that you lose your mind for a moment there, because she was like, Bongi, I would literally just walk outside naked, and my family would just take a blanket and wrap it around me and bring me back to the house. So I think that was something similar that was happening to my grandmother, but luckily she wasn't walking naked outside. Thank God, okay? And so something is off with her, and she's like, Bongi, did you make breakfast? Because your aunt is gonna need to eat soon. And I'm like, does she see the body? Does she see that the person is talking about is gone? Okay? And the neighbor's like, yeah, she made the breakfast. I mean, that's why your younger daughter is here. Like my younger aunt, she was there already because I had gone to fetch her. And now I'm like, okay, I'm confused, okay? And then my neighbor is like, just go along with the script. Just go along with the script. So I'm like, yeah, I made the food. I made the food until the rest of the elders came. It was her brother, who is like a chief police officer, something like that. And he was the more mature one, you know, in the family. And, you know, in my family, we have a lot of clowns, okay? We have a lot of clowns. So he was like the mature one. When he's there, now things can start happening. So that grandfather came and packed the cans. Like he was the one who actually called the morgue, and yeah, that's when they took the body. And now as they took the body, we had to tell my grandmother again, like, Grams, aunt died at 3 o'clock, and me and you were here for it. It was Bongi and you who were here for it, and she died. So now they are moving her body. They are taking it to the morgue. Like I had to literally explain it to her, and she would get anxious, and she would be like, no, and I'd be like, okay, she died. We have to take her away. So as that process was happening, she was like, okay. She started going like, okay. And then they took my aunt's body away. So people start pouring in, you know, like in my neighborhood back home, when somebody passes away, and like it's a black community, it's a community that is dominated by black. Actually, in fact, it's like all black people there. So you put like a basin bowl at the gate to show that someone has passed away, and people can come and give their condolences and bring food. That's how we show that somebody has died. And so we put the dish out there with water so that people wash their hands when they're coming in and out. I don't know why they do that. It's something cultural that they do in the Zulu culture. So I don't know why they do that, guys, but I just know that it's done. So that's what we exactly do. And then like people start coming in, and they sing songs to her, and they leave money as condolences and all that stuff. It's like what they call Shiva, I think, in the Jew tradition, where people come and they just keep giving food and food and food and food and food. That's what those people were doing, because others came in and they would leave like money, and then they would come to the kitchen and they would come and drop off maybe like scones, and they would leave. It's funny how people like have a lot of money or food all of a sudden to bring over when somebody dies. Like, it's really funny how that happens. But yeah, people just kept on coming in. Others were giving food, others were like giving their condolences, reading the Bible to her and stuff like that. And then so family comes in one by one sometimes. So as the neighborhood ladies who come and bring prayer, they came, and they left afterwards. We made them tea, and they drank tea, and they left. And then I think it was 3 other relative elder ladies that were there. I call them all granny. Like, this is Grams, this is Grams, this is Grams. Regardless of who do I know who this is, or like, I don't necessarily know all of their names, guys. So I would call them Grams. All of them. So they are sitting there with my grandmother on the mattress, like, there, and they are comforting her. And guys, like my grand uncle, I could see him from a distance coming, and like, my grandmother's place, it's like this big yard. And then after that, there is a long trail, like walking trail coming to the yard, like coming to her gate before, you even get into the house. So there's this long trail there, then you get to the gate, then you walk again in that big yard to come in. And I can see my grand uncle coming, and the walk, guys, is just like, he's carrying, he has an umbrella with him and a plastic. I don't know what the plastic had. He's walking, You could see that he's feeling himself, he's dashing a little, and he's wearing a suit. For the first time I saw him wearing something very formal like that. He wasn't like really formal, but he was a little formal. I'm like, okay, here we go. So I can see him walking and walking, and then one of my cousins is like, here we go, right? I'm like, yep. Like this time, I give everybody credit, guys. I give everybody credit, and I usually just do this thing of like, I'm gonna also sympathize with them. So he walks, he comes. And then when he gets like to the door, he walks in to where my grandmother is. He stands just a distance away, and he's like, and he drops the umbrella, and he drops the plastic, and he just kneels there, and I'm like, no, guys. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay. We all deal with this passing thing differently, okay? And I leave the room. But before I leave the room, I'm looking at my grandmother, and my grandma's like, you know, her mind is now back and she's conscious of the fact that her child died. And the face is like, okay. She's looking at him and then she's like, so he wipes his tears there and I just leave the room. I'm like, I'm not gonna be here for this awkwardness. I leave the room, okay? So when I leave the room, my other aunt goes in and is like, what happened in there? Look at your face. I'm like, go see for yourself. So as I come back, my other aunt is there now, because she likes the ndabas. Okay? She likes the zindabas. So she comes in and she sits with my grandmother there as if she's comforting and stuff like that. Family, guys. So as my aunt is sitting there with my grandmother and my grand aunt starts going like, you know, I was like, this person kept on telling me that they want like 1,000 rand from me, and I was just telling them like, I nobody got time for that right now. My child just died. And my grandmother's like, guys, my grandmother's like, my other like aunt there at the side, she wants to laugh, but no, because the situation, okay, the situation is, you know, guys, it's such a weird situation. So she doesn't laugh, she just goes like, she looks at my grandmother with a straight face, and then my grandma's like, The thing is, guys, he's claiming that people are asking him for like 1,000 rand, and it hasn't even been like a day since my aunt died, and he's cashing in on these people, and he's telling them that his daughter died. Now my question is, did he ask for the money before my aunt died from these people telling them that his daughter died? Like, did he say that yesterday, telling people that my daughter just died, and you know, I can't be borrowing people money right now? Because it's like, guys, remember I told you that it was 6 like in the morning when people are coming in, and it's already like almost 7, 8 in the morning. So who have you spoken to in such a short span of time that you would tell them that your daughter has died? And mind you, it's not even his daughter, it's her sister's daughter that died, okay? So my grandmother, her grandmother has that savage face, okay? So she just goes, she looks at him with that like resting bee face, you know, like, if I don't kill you today, boy, the Lord has you. The Lord really has you if I don't kill you today. Did you just cash in on my daughter's death? And now after, like, so everybody's like, wow, you are aware that she died today, like at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's like, yeah, but now I was passing somewhere, and there at the church they were busy telling me that they want 1,000 rand. I don't know if it was for some tithing thing. So I was just like, mind you, guys, let me tell you what's the funny part about this, why my grandmother is doing this resting bee face, okay? Because my grand uncle is like a sangoma, or he used to be like a sangoma, and then all of a sudden he is saved, okay? Now I'm not rebuking a person being saved, but you know, he's saved, it was like a shady save, you know, like he was on some, like, you know, I just want to be on the good books, you know, because at that time I think he was dating someone who was Christian, and he just wanted to be in the good books. So he was still practicing that sangoma thing, and my grandmother just did not understand how are you out here like how are you out here doing that stuff? Like, you are Sangoma, but you're saying that you're a Christian. And back in my neighborhood, if you're saying you're Christian, you better be Christian. You better practice Christianity. You better preach it, because they're not here for that, okay? So my grandmother was just annoyed, okay? So he leaves afterwards, okay? And my grandmother just takes off the toque and the blanket and just like, can you believe this man? I'm like, woohoo! I was waiting for you, Gramps. I'm like, whoa! I'm like, where did you get the strength? I was waiting for you to pop. Like, guys, I was waiting for my grandmother to pop that time, and I'm like, oh gosh. She was like, the nerve of that man cashing in on my daughter's death. I'm like, okay, calm down. And my aunt's like, no. Let her vent. She needs the venting. Let her vent. She needs the venting. I'm like, guys, yeah, and that wasn't the first. That wasn't like the first death at home that has this comedic side of it. I was like, Jesus, take the wheel. People out here are cruel. Take the wheel, Jesus. And that was it, guys. Like, my grandmother was so upset, and then she was like, she remembered that she has to keep her composure as per culture back home. So she went back to the mattress and, you know, put on the blanket again. But she lost her cool there for a moment, guys. And I was like, I've been waiting for you to pop, girl. Like, yeah, guys. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and tell me what are your darkest comedy like on funerals, like at home, because I'm still gonna tell you another one. Don't worry, there's another one coming up. Love you guys.